Hello, football fans. Welcome back to week 2 of the 2023 season for the Scuffed Football Podcast. This is Noah. I'm Ted. We're here again. Cover scores, news, fantasy, gambling. We're back into it. Week 1 was a fucking blast. I forgot how much I missed football. I think the most rational place to start here recording on Tuesday is to talk about the Bills and the Jets. I don't think we can let that one go for too long because Aaron Rodgers is obviously a huge story. First off, his stat line as a Jet for this season is 0 for 1 with 0 yards, and that was Aaron Rodgers' contribution to this season. I hate to make fun of the situation, but like that's a huge injury, man. Like that's game changing. This team came in as a contender, and they get one incomplete pass out of Aaron Rodgers for the season, man. That's heartbreaking.
I mean, I gotta agree. I mean, obviously, I wasn't thinking they were going to be Super Bowl contenders right away. I knew they would put up a fight, but I expected this game to be much more explosive. Obviously, with Aaron getting hurt, it was not as much. I mean, expectations were riding high for them, and I know a lot of Jets fans are very, very disappointed right now.
You know, I think it's interesting because, like, last year, I mean, we gave so much shit to Zach Wilson. Like, that dude looked like shit. But I genuinely think that this is, like, a really different team on offense than it was last year. I mean, I think they've added offensive weapons that, granted, they're, you know, Aaron Rodgers' favorite targets. But, like, I think they've also bolstered the line, which, like, gives Zach Wilson more of a path to succeed. I know Jets ownership is still worried about him because there's rumors floating around about Kaepernick, and apparently a Jets GM called Tom Brady at halftime. I still can't believe they did it at half, dude. That's so disrespectful. But I think if it's any indication of how this team looks different, I mean, they really built for this year, and Aaron Rodgers not having a long time left in the league, that, like, I still think they could be successful. I mean, and I think what shows that the most is that they ended up winning the game last night.
I mean, I say I'll agree to a certain point. I mean, I think, you know, take away Josh Allen's terrible interceptions. You know, 3 different possessions that could all be explosive. Like, I feel like, you know, take those away and maybe we could have won that. So I feel like on a scale, you know, I mean, obviously I think it was the Jets defense. It wasn't like the Jets offense, I felt like, to me, except for Breece Hall just running through us. That was incredible. Every time I thought the defense was getting locked in, he would just, you know, fucking explode for 40. So, yeah, it was pretty disappointing to watch.
I just think it's, I mean, we kind of talked, like, you know, last week that, like, I think this division is a little more open than it's been for the past couple of years, but watching this game, I mean, first off, it was week 1, and those dudes were hitting each other. They were angry after every single snap. The Jets, despite losing their franchise quarterback, for lack of a better term for Rodgers, right? Like, I mean, they still put up a fight. They still won the game. I recognize that the Bills' defense didn't look as good as we maybe expected it to. Their offense, like, again, I'll chalk it up to Josh Allen with awful interceptions. But in the grand scheme of things, like, I really think that, like, this division's going to be maybe even more competitive than we thought it was.
I mean, I got to agree. I think that we're going to find out more, though, this coming week, obviously, as we learn more. So,
yeah, always interesting when you get the divisional matchups, especially this early. The other game we want to talk about was the Dolphins and the Chargers, because I think this was easily the most electric game this weekend. Tua looked really good, looked really healthy. He looked stable in the pocket, despite the fact that their offensive line still looked gimmicky and bad. But he managed to hit Tyreek Hill for what? He ended up with 210 yards? Do I remember that correct?
Yeah.
So. Absolutely nutty game. The dude went off. But I think the past couple of years that we've gotten this matchup, like, we've had questions about Tua being healthy or Herbert underperforming or weather concerns about it being 1,000,000 degrees in Miami. You know what I mean? Like, we've had a whole bunch of questions about this game, but I know that fans of both of these teams, because of the draft class that Tua and Herbert came out of, have had a lot of questions about, did we get the right guy? Did the other guy get luckier? And I'm always super fascinated by these games, but as good as the Chargers looked, man, something special about Tua when he is healthy, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say for both fan bases, I think like even though the Chargers lost, like they should still go into next week feeling really good. I mean, obviously you want to start off with a win, but you guys still like I think we saw a preview of just how good both teams can be consistently if they can stay consistent. But I mean, if I was the Chargers, I'd be happy that you were right in it. And any other team, I don't think would have the explosive firepower that we witnessed there.
Yeah, I also think that, like, while there were some fun, close games this weekend, I think that there are still a whole lot of questions about most of the teams in the league. But I really genuinely believe that after what we saw, like, if we can assume anything from last year, that, like, whoever won this game, whoever lost this game, like, both teams have the ability to walk away pretty fucking happy with their result. Like, being that close in that game should speak good news for your season if everybody stays healthy. I do want to talk about some other young quarterbacks, though. We'll get a little younger than Tua and Herbert, because obviously there were a lot of guys that played this weekend in their first or second season, guys we haven't seen a ton of. We talked about Aaron Rodgers, so it's only natural. Let's start in Green Bay with Jordan Love. For me personally, I want to give a shout out to Theo Ash. You may have seen him on TikTok or YouTube. I think he breaks down the game in a super interesting and like educational way. And I loved his breakdown of Jordan Love this week because he saw a lot of the same things that I was kind of confused about, to be honest. I think that Jordan Love looked stable. He looked solid. He looked comfortable in the pocket, but they gave him really easy play calls. The couple of times he went downfield, he either missed his receiver or his guy was wide open just because of scheming. I think their run game helped them a lot, but I don't know that what we saw from Jordan Love and the Packers is necessarily something that we can count on being as good when they play a team that might have a better defense than the Bears do.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see, but it was a good first game, I think, just to get, Jordan Love like a little acclimated. I mean, they performed pretty well, and I mean, I didn't really watch this game, but yeah, I'd definitely be interested to see what could happen. I didn't even expect them to win this, to be honest. But I'm happy that they did. They proved something, and so
yeah. I think the next interesting place to end up is the rookie class from this year. CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson. I know that there's going to be questions for these guys all season long. Like, I don't think one game is anywhere adequate to say how well these guys did in the draft, especially because most of their teams are fucking garbage. But out of the three, I really think Anthony Richardson impressed me the most. He looked super electric on the ground. He looked like he had really good awareness. It just kind of looked like he had a bad offensive line. Like he just, he was trying to outperform his team, which I was pretty thrilled to see, especially given like how bad Florida was and how much of a risk he was to draft.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really know a lot about him going in. I mean, but he was very collected, I felt like, especially for a first game. Usually we don't see. I mean, they were in this game until that fourth quarter where the Jags kind of blew past them. But for 3 quarters in your first start, I mean, I feel like he's probably one of the better ones for right now. That's as an overreaction. We don't know about the rest yet.
Yeah, again, week 1 is not an adequate enough amount of time, but like I said, I was pretty impressed. I mean, I thought he was a gigantic question mark because we really didn't see him at Florida. Bryce Young, I kind of felt similarly, but just less electric. Again, I think he held his own. He looked pretty comfortable, but their play calling was pretty reserved. They didn't do a whole lot that like gave him the chance to flash. He did okay. He stood in there. He took it.
I mean, yeah, it's just a different, like, bigger bodies, faster, but he did pretty well. So I was pretty surprised. I mean, I hate Alabama still, so there's really nothing to be said about that. I'm not going to admit he's good. So he did all right.
That's fair. He had an okay day. I don't think he wowed anybody. I don't think anybody walked away from that game going, we have our franchise. Like, I don't, but he did all right, man. Like I've certainly seen quarterbacks start worse. And then CJ Stroud being the third of the 3, he looked okay. I wouldn't even say that it was like stable or reserved play call. Like, I don't think they gave him a chance to feel comfortable. I think it's just Houston's bad. They're going to be bad forever. And this kid's just doomed because he got drafted to the Texans. It's just pretty unfortunate.
Yeah, unlucky.
I think there were some other younger quarterbacks that did okay. For a while, Sam Howell was looking super accurate. I know that there wasn't a ton of air yards behind him for the first half. Desmond Ridder kind of the same way. I think at one point he was 8 for 11 with 24 yards. Like, it was not flashy, but I mean, he hit his spots. He performed to the plays that got called for him. The one that we had the most questions about going into the season, though, is Brock Purdy. Oh my God, did San Francisco look really fucking good. I thought they gave Purdy a lot of room. We talked last year that anybody can walk into that system and have a really good year because that's just the way San Francisco calls their offense. But I thought Sunday rather, that like they gave Brock Purdy a lot of space to make deep throws, to make tough plays, and like he stepped up and performed. They looked really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, I remember texting you. I was like, in the first quarter, I was like, dude, this offense is humming already. Like, that's just crazy. And I mean, they kept humming. Like, it was, I think they answered a bunch of questions. Again, still week 1. Maybe they'll choke next week and then just be terrible. But I highly doubt that'll be the case.
Yeah, I Brock Purdy, like, again, week 1 overreactions. But I mean, it seems like they made an all right choice. Which brings me to other quarterbacks that we're seeing in new places because they decided to get rid of their other 2 quarterbacks and commit to Brock Purdy, which means the Cowboys got their backup quarterback for a 4th round pick, chump change. But it also means Jimmy Garoppolo got to play in Vegas. This poor dude, he cannot escape it, man. He threw 1 touchdown, looked pretty good on the opening drive, and then has a concussion. We're right back to injuries and Garoppolo not playing, man. Real unfortunate.
He's so fragile, man.
It's a shame too. You know that he's performed well in certain places. I mean, he looked good for the Patriots. He obviously had his Super Bowl run with the 49ers. It's just we're never going to get a full season of Garoppolo. The one that really impressed me though was Baker Mayfield. To be honest, like I root for the guy, but I had kind of written him off. I didn't think Tampa was going to be that good this year. I recognize that like they may not have had like the greatest game of all time, but I thought Baker Mayfield looked confident, comfortable. I thought that he made plays with his feet. I really think that he flourished on Sunday.
Interesting. I would just say I do agree. I did write this game off. I was kind of very bored. I thought it was going to be like a blowout for the Vikings, but I think I was more surprised with how lackluster the Vikings looked. And that's still saying, like, I mean, Kirk Cousins still had 344 yards in the air and 2 touchdowns, but like they weren't looking like the team that I expected that ever since from last season, man. But I will say, you know, hats off to Baker Mayfield for that winning touchdown drive. I would have never seen it coming.
I'm not here to say that Baker's going to go win any MVPs or that the Bucs are going to be good this season. Don't get me wrong, but like for what he was given, I mean, I thought he played a pretty good game. Like I was pretty impressed. I didn't expect to see that performance from him. The other one I want to talk about is Derek Carr. I got super frustrated with Red Zone because I feel like even though there were 8 games on, I was only watching 2 at the 1 o'clock hour. And unfortunately, one of them was the New Orleans Saints. That game sucked so bad to watch. There were so many turnovers. Everything about that game absolutely sucked. I know Derek Carr won the game, but what really stood out to me was that it felt like he had no urgency whatsoever in the pocket. Their offensive line collapsed on him, and he just kind of stood there. He didn't have any rush to change plays, to get the ball out. He just looked rough in the pocket.
I mean, I honestly watched like 3 minutes of the first quarter and I was kind of done with this game. But I will say maybe just because he's settling in, this is the first actual game he's playing. Maybe we'll see a more comfortable Derek Carr next week. But yeah, I guess we'll have to find out for next week.
All right. We mentioned it a couple of times, but if you were here last year, you know that week 1 is time for overreacting. We're just here to jump in, make way too big claims for only 1 week. Obviously, we don't know shit. We've only watched 1 game. All of these teams could be good. All of them could be bad. Nobody has any idea. But there are a couple of things that really stood out that I really want to. I want to cross some things off the list so that we said it in week 1 instead of waiting until the end of the year.
Right.
First observation: Detroit's a really good football team. Like really good. Jared Goff made some really nice throws. Their offense looked like it was working the way that it was supposed to. Their defense looked like a step up from last season, and I think that if their offense continues to click, they'll be able to beat teams with just offense and not have to rely on their defense. I think the Detroit Lions are scary good.
All right.
All right.
I will say... Oh, gosh. All right. That's a good one. No, seriously. I will say that I thought they were going to be better. Again, you have to remember Chiefs had some key players not in, and they also had Tony drop like 4 fucking passes. But I mean, I think a lot of mistakes added up, and I don't think, put in Kelsey and Chris Jones, and I think that's a different game. So I will say that's definitely an overreaction.
All right. Well, my next set of overreaction also involves the Chiefs. Just based on what we saw week 1, Kansas City, Buffalo, and Minnesota all took a significant step down from last year. For Kansas City, I think that they expected their offense to work at all. I recognize that if Kadarius Toney had hands not made of stone, that game looks different. I get that, again, Chris Jones, him being on the field made a bit of a difference there. But I also recognize, I don't want to hear the arguments that, Kelsey being in the lineup changes that game, because if he still only has one target who can catch, it's easier to play defense. Granted, they may have won the game, but I still wouldn't be super impressed. It looks like a significant step down. For Buffalo, that offense looked okay, except for Josh Allen, who has been playing hero ball for 2 seasons. The defense looked okay, but they also allowed some really big holes at really not good times. I'm not here to say that they're bad. I don't think they're going to bottom feed their division by any stretch, but I think it's significantly less than it was. Minnesota, we may have been able to predict that they did have a fall off at the end of last season, and I think a lot of their step down is going to be different now that their division can compete. I mean, even though we watched the Bears lose by 18 points, I still think that they look better than last year. They'll be more competitive against the Vikings. The Vikings don't look like they can just confidently roll over their division anymore.
I'm agreeing with your overreaction here. I 100% think that they've all taken steps down. And that hurts to say, but yeah.
Like I said, any one of these teams could surprise us again next week. I mean, there's nothing that says that Kansas City can't come out and beat Jacksonville by 30 points next week. But I don't know, man. Just with 1 game sample size, it does not look like it did. Alternatively, Dallas, San Francisco, and Baltimore, significant step up, teams to be absolutely scared of.
Well, I mean, not so much the Ravens now, I feel like, especially with J.K. Dobbins out. But I can agree with the others.
Yeah. San Francisco is genuinely the most terrifying team in the NFL. As an Eagles fan, there is nobody I want to play less than the 49ers.
100%. I'm glad I only have to play them once.
Dallas's offense is good. Dallas's defense looks really good. I mean, again, playing the Giants, but for all intents and purposes, everything seemed to be working. It's interesting that you bring up Baltimore, though, because I thought that they won their game super handedly. I thought Lamar Jackson being back and healthy felt really good for them. I thought that even when J.K. Dobbins went out, I thought their run game was still functioning for what they needed it to do. The receiving core is better. I feel like he has actual targets again this year, and their defense worked. Hard to not believe in Baltimore, especially now that some of the other teams in their division have struggled too.
True. Plus, I mean, they didn't even have Mark Andrews, so I can see what you're saying, but I feel like somewhere we're gonna get the old Ravens, because we've been disappointed by the Ravens before.
This is true. I don't know how much of an overreaction this is, but I feel like it needs to be said. The NFC South is going to be embarrassingly bad again. Embarrassingly bad. The Bucs won. They beat the Vikings. If the Vikings took a step down, I'm not super thrilled with the Bucs. I think Baker's good, but it's not like they're bringing back Brady's Buccaneers. The Saints, we already mentioned Derek Carr. They looked flat and ugly and awful. Who else we got down there? Fucking... boy, am I blanking. The Falcons and the Panthers played. The Falcons and the Panthers played each other, and neither one of them was an absolute wow factor. I think the Falcons set themselves half a step above in this division because their run game was really working. But again, it was against the Panthers. Like, man, this division feels like it's doomed to be bad again.
I've been feeling that way about this division, so I'm with you.
I had hoped they'd be a little better, but like I really think we could see a 7 or 8 win team make the playoffs again, and I don't fucking need it, man. I really don't. The last overreaction I have for my list, Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley look like the top duo in the NFL. That Calvin Ridley connection was great. He found him all the damn time.
Yeah, I know. So much of my demise, fucking Christian Kirk didn't get a single target. Well, he got 3 targets, but he only caught 1. And I was like, bro. But whatever. Week 2. I will say, yes, I did like their connection. But I think if they become, the top option, then, I think a lot of that will come, we don't need Christian Kirk to be wide receiver 1 because everyone's going to focus on Ridley, trying to stopping that. So I think they'll still be very balanced, but yeah, they were very explosive. But I gotta say, you still got to look at Tua and Tyreek Hill. So,
so much of that is Tyreek Hill. Not to talk shit on Tua. We know, I still think the guy's good when he's healthy, right? But Tyreek Hill is far and away the best receiver in the league. Trevor Lawrence 100%. and Calvin Ridley were on a completely different level connecting with each other on Sunday. Man, that looked really good, and I think it's going to be good all season. I do like how that opens up. Sometimes their offense last year felt really scripted, like only having Christian Kirk, right? So, I certainly think that this opens up their offense and makes them significantly better with just one addition. You brought up fantasy, so what do we got this week beyond my shitty fucking 3-quarterback league?
Well, I tried to pick up Gus Edwards, but he was already taken. But again, I would just be looking at backups for teams that got injuries, even still more questionable players. I know half my starters are questionable for this coming week, so I'm kind of scared. But yeah, I don't know. Check in on defenses, see who has the easiest matchup. I don't know. My team won, but thank you, Stephon Diggs. That's all. Oh, God.
I also managed to pull a win out this week. But the couple of things that I noticed were, first was Chris Olave. Part of it was that I was playing against him, but I think he was a more productive option than I was ready to give him credit for at the beginning of the year, despite the fact that Derek Carr did not look good. I think Olave still had 8 targets for 112. That's a pretty good day. He didn't get in the end zone, so I think that scoreline only has places to improve. I know that he was a lower tier wide receiver option going into drafting, so there's a non-zero chance he's still available in your waiver wire. The other thing, we can't go this whole episode without talking about how bad the Bengals were and how none of their fantasy pieces worked. Oh, God, dude. I think Joe Burrow ended with 3.5 points. Higgins didn't get a single reception, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe he had one, and Jamar Chase also fell off a table. Their run game never started. McPherson missed a field goal. They were, man, if you had drafted any Bengals, I am so sorry for your team this week. Oh.
Yeah, I gotta say, that was pretty shocking to watch. Obviously, some teams, people are counting on that, and it really changed our league. But obviously the weather had something to do with it. Hopefully we'll see a better team next week for them, fantasy-wise.
Can't get much worse.
Gosh, that's true. There's only up from here,
All right. I think that brings us into picks for this week. So we started so much better this year than last year. Super proud of us. Last year, both of us started week 1 at 4-12, and we never recovered. This year, you started 10-6. I started 11-5. Things are good, man. Things are good.
Okay.
Hot start. So this week, lines are presented by FanDuel as of Tuesday, subject to change. Let's get right into it. Thursday's game, Minnesota and the Eagles. Eagles are 7-point favorites at home. I hate gambling on the Eagles.
I mean, it's a big,
Yeah.
I know how you feel about big numbers, but I'm going to go Eagles here. Again, Vikings took a step down. I don't know what's going on.
Put this away. Look, I know Minnesota had a bad week, but their offense was still productive. Like you said, Kirk went for almost 350 yards, 2 touchdowns. It was just the turnovers in the red zones that really bit them. The Eagles started strong. They didn't finish strong. They let the Patriots get way too close. 7 just feels too big for me. I'm taking Minnesota. I have Green Bay and Atlanta. The Packers are 1.5 favorites on the road.
Yeah, I'm taking that easily.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. Jordan Love, Green Bay, they looked more solid, more put together. Atlanta's just kind of bad. Goddamn NFC South. I have the Bears and the Bucks. The Bucks are 3-point favorites at home. This is tough, only because we watched Chicago underperform. I think Baker looked good this week. I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt. 3 points at home. I'll take Tampa.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do the same.
I don't feel good about that one either way, but I'll take Tampa. All right, yeah. I have the Seahawks and the Lions. Lions are 5.5 favorites at home. I think Detroit's a good football team, man. I'm taking the Lions. I'm going to ride them until they let me down.
All right. I'm going to not pick them next week, but I'll go Lions for this one.
All right. I have the Raiders at the Bills. The Bills are 9.5 favorites at home. I know you're taking Buffalo. It's just a given.
That's a big line, though. I'll commit, but I'm very nervous about that one, especially what we saw this past week. If you want to make money, don't bet what I'm going to say, but I'm going Bills. Okay.
As surprising as it is, I'm also taking the Bills. I just don't trust Vegas with a backup quarterback. If Garoppolo was in and I got a 9.5, I'd take Garoppolo, no doubt about it. But man, I don't know that I like him against Buffalo at 9.5. Plus, Josh Allen's got to clean up 4 interceptions, right? Like that,
Yeah.
All right, I got the Chargers and the Titans. Chargers are 3-point favorites on the road.
I don't know. Maybe if it was a fluke, the Chargers won't be as good. But I'm taking Chargers. I think Tennessee just really underperformed in that game with the Saints. So I'll go Tennessee, or not Tennessee.
Yeah, you're going LA. I get it. I'm gonna take Tennessee mostly because we need to make a different pick here somewhere. But I can also talk myself into it. Like I think that Tannehill had some turnover problems, which again, much like Josh Allen, I think can be corrected. They got him at home, adding 3 points to him. I think that's a pretty decent day. And their defense was solid enough last week. I know they didn't play the best team in the world in the Saints, but their defense held. So I can talk myself into Tennessee +3.
Listen, I'd be happy if they do, because that would be more points for Derrick Henry. So that's all I'm saying.
All right, I got the Colts and the Texans. This is basically a toss-up, but it's Indy -1. Yeah. It's 1 point. Indy looked better than Houston. This one's pretty simple to me. I'm taking Indy. Anthony Richardson looked much better. I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know. You know what? I'll go Texans just because, maybe. Right. Who knows?
All right. I've got Baltimore and Cincinnati. The Ravens are 3.5 favorites at home.
Oh God, I don't even know.
All right, I think Baltimore's the better team. I said they were going to win the division. I thought they played way better this past week, and you're giving me 3.5 points? No, I'm taking Baltimore. That's no contest for me.
Yeah, I'll say I didn't see anything from Bengals, and I saw something from Ravens. So I'll go Ravens as well.
All right. I've talked him into it. I have Kansas City and Jacksonville. The Chiefs are 3-point favorites on the road. I'm scared of this one. I really am.
Oh.
I'll do it. I'll bet against the Chiefs. I'll do it. I'm taking Jacksonville. Look, Jacksonville looked really good. I said Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley, the best duo in the NFL. Kansas City still has some issues. I mean, even if they add their pieces this week in Chris Jones and Travis Kelce, like, they still need more sets of hands than one to win that game against the Lions. If you're going to give me 3 points and a Jacksonville team that looked really good, I don't like it, but I'll take it.
See, I was going to go Jags too, because I thought you were going to go Chiefs. And I was like, oh, okay, this is an easy one for me. But I don't know. I mean, oh, God. We want variety, though. I'll go Chiefs, because you can never count Patty Mahomes out.
I don't like either side of this. Like, I really don't. I got to take Jacksonville. If I'm just going to jump, I'll jump into Trevor Lawrence's camp. All right, I got the 49ers and the Rams. 49ers are 8-point favorites on the road. I thought the Rams came out better than expected. I don't think they looked nearly as good as San Francisco. I'm gonna take the Niners.
I don't know. I will say, obviously, their offense is a different team without Cooper Kupp. They won't have him next week. I mean, he's on IR. Yeah. I don't know. Their defense is still not to be messed around with, though. I don't know. I'll go Rams just because that's a little too big for me.
I understand. 8 feels a little rough, but, man, San Francisco scares the shit out of me. I've got the Giants and the Cardinals. Giants, despite losing 40-0, are 6-point favorites in Arizona. I hate this. I hate this so goddamn much.
Oh, God.
I'm going to let you go first. I can't steal your thunder again. I got to... Let me back off a second.
I'm going Cardinals. Ugh.
It feels so bad. I'm going to take the Giants for no other reason than, like, they have to be better than 40-0, right? Like, they got to be.
We didn't see anything from them, though. That's the thing. So, I mean...
I know. Yeah, I don't feel good about it again. I got the Jets and the Cowboys. Cowboys are 9.5 favorites at home. When I saw this line and I typed it in, I was like, no, the Jets won their game. Like, there's no shot. And then I thought about it. I was like, oh, they still don't have Aaron Rodgers. Let me think about this. And 9.5 feels like a much better line.
Yeah. I don't know. That defense, though, for the Jets, they were surprising for me. So, could they lock up something as hot as that? I don't know.
I hate it. I'm going to take Dallas. I think the deciding factor for me is that their defense also looked good against the Giants. And I think Zach Wilson's still Zach Wilson at the end of the day. Like, they've got more weapons. It's going to be better. But, like, if they can do that to Daniel Jones and the Giants, I certainly think they could probably do it to the Jets.
Yeah, I'll go Cowboys, too. I agree with that.
I hate taking fucking 10-point spreads. All right, I got Washington and Denver. Broncos are 3.5 favorites at home. I don't think I watched that game. Like, I don't know how I missed all of it, but I don't think I watched that game, so I don't know how good Denver is, but Washington's...
I mean, they still lost
to
the Raiders.
But Washington's bad. Like, Washington's bad. I'll take Denver. I don't like it, but I'll take Denver. Both sides of this feel like I lost.
I'll take Washington. Yeah, that's fine.
All right. I have the Dolphins at the Patriots. Dolphins are 2-point favorites on the road.
I'm taking Dolphins on that one.
Just to be a contrarian, I'll take New England. I think Miami's a better team. I think they can cover too, but New England pulled out a better game at the second half against the Eagles than I thought they were capable of. So, I mean, who knows what we'll get out of the Patriots? I think they're still a big question mark.
Yeah, true.
I got Sunday night's game is New Orleans against Carolina. Saints are 3-point favorites on the road. Another, why the fuck am I going to watch this game?
Why is that one? Or I'm not watching that one.
It's Sunday night. I have to watch it. It's the only fucking game on.
I know, but like it's so bad that I'm not even going to watch it, even though it's the only football on.
For me, I'll take New Orleans. I think they looked like a whole lot different team with without the turnovers. And to be honest, like I think Derek Carr is a better quarterback than he showed us the other night. So 3 points against Carolina feels really doable.
I'm going for the underdogs here. I'll go Panthers. Why not?
All right. And then Monday night's game is the Browns and the Steelers. Browns are 2.5 favorites on the road.
Yeah, I'm going Browns on that one.
I don't know. Cleveland their defense looked really good. Their defensive line was absolutely immaculate. And I think that Pittsburgh's biggest struggle was that their offensive line was Swiss cheese. So for all intents and purposes, I think Cleveland wins the game. I'll pick them. But I think most of the other places on the roster, like it could be pretty competitive. If the Steelers line holds out better than we expect them to, I think this is a really close game. If they don't, I think Cleveland slaughters them. All right. As I mentioned, lines are provided by FanDuel as of Tuesday. They are subject to change. Please gamble responsibly. Remember, we're not providing gambling advice, solely providing our picks. If your loved one has a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 2 for 2 now. I thought there was rust. I am in mid-season form.
That's what I like to see.
All right. That's going to do it for this one. We'll catch you guys here next week. Have a good one.